to session 8. We will see here with regard to types of research. We will discuss with regard to descriptive research, that is observation method. Learning objectives. How are naturalistic and laboratory settings used to describe behavior? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages associated with these settings? Session outcome. Understanding the difference between naturalistic observation and laboratory observation. Understanding the drawbacks and advantages associated with these settings. Sometimes the researcher needs to know is what is happening to a group of animals or people. The best way to look at the behavior of animals or people is to watch them behave in their normal environment. The advantage of naturalistic observation is that it allows researchers to get a realistic picture of how behavior occurs because they are actually watching that behavior in its natural setting. Whereas in a more controlled environment, like a laboratory, they might get behavior that is contrived or artificial rather than genuine. An observer should keep a checklist as to know what he is observing. Sometimes if animals or people who know they are being watched will not behave normally, a process called the observer effect. So, often the observer must remain hidden from view. In other cases, researchers must use one-way mirrors, or they might actually become participants in a group, a technique called participant observation. There are some advantages to this method. There are some disadvantages to this method. One of the disadvantages of naturalistic observation is the possibility of observer bias. That happens when the person doing the observing has a particular opinion about what he or she expects to see. One way to avoid observer bias is to use blind observers, people who do not know what the research question is and therefore have no preconceived notions about what they should see. It's also a good idea to have more than one observer so that the various observations can be compared. Another disadvantage is that each naturalistic setting is unique and unlike any other. Observations that are made at one time in one setting may not hold true for another time even if the setting is similar, because the conditions are not going to be identical time after time. Researchers don't have that kind of control over the natural world. Laboratory observation. Laboratory observation sometimes observing behavior in animals or people in just not practical in a natural setting. The researchers would find it difficult to use some equipment in the natural setting. In such case, the laboratory observation is recommended. However, even in laboratory observation, there are some disadvantages of being an artificial situation that might result in artificial behavior. Both animals and people often react differently in the laboratory than they would in the real world. The main advantage of this method is the degree of control that it gives to the observer. Thank you.